Hey guys, this is Daniel.
And Matthew, and we are that damn friends. Today we are doing a video review of 20XX, a Mega Man style homage slash spiritual successor, if you will. It's basically the co-op Mega Man game you didn't know that you needed in your life until now. Daniel, what did you think about the graphics of the game, like how it looked?
I really liked the art style. The colors were very vibrant. The movement was very smooth. I thought the visuals were on point for the style of gameplay that it was.
Yeah, looking at the game, it's hard to see anything other than Mega Man, which I'm sure was the intention. But as a huge Mega Man fan, that's what drew me to the game. So, I mean, I agree with you. It looks great, and I don't really feel like there's any way they could have improved it other than after playing the game a few times, it almost feels like certain color schemes or whatever are repeated a lot. But other than that, you know, this is kind of a minor thing to harp on, so it's not really that big a deal. But yeah, and so for me, I felt the game played very well. Also, the two characters, the Mega Man inspired Nina and the Zero inspired Ace, each have their own individual abilities. Nina is the ranged character, and Ace is the up-close combat beast. On our first playthrough, Daniel chose Nina, and I chose to play as Ace. And I really wasn't feeling Ace, because I thought you had to get really close to do a lot of damage, and it just, I don't know, I wasn't really feeling it. And then we swapped on one of our other playthroughs, and I was really digging Nina, but Daniel was a beast with Ace. Like, he would get up close and just absolutely wreck bosses. So, you know, they each have their own pluses and minuses, but I personally prefer Nina.
My first Mega Man game was X4, and I really started liking the X series then. I went back and played the old X's, and I really liked how Zero would get his own powers as opposed to what X got when he defeats the same boss. Kind of wish that would be incorporated in this to further differentiate the two characters, but it is an indie game, so I'm probably asking for a little bit too much.
Well, I mean, you're right. That is something that would have been awesome, and it is also an indie game. Having said that, the powers are really cool.
I understand that, but I was really never into, I guess when I played Mega Man, and as you saw as I played with both when I played Nina and with Ace, I really don't go into the powers much. Maybe that's my fault. The game would probably be easier for me if I did, but I always just stuck to the basic attack in Mega Man.
Well, I mean, the whole point of having the powers is to make the game easier.
I guess I'm contradicting myself by saying that, because I also said that I wish they got different powers, but if I don't use them, why do I care?
Very good point, but maybe that's part of the reasons why you didn't use them, is that you didn't want to have the same powers that I got, you know? It's like, if we defeat the boss and he drops the boomerang blade, then, you know, I shouldn't get the same boomerang blade that you get. You should get some kind of different thing, right. Since yours is, if you're playing as Ace, you're up close, and I'd be Nina's range, so yours should be some sort of blade variation, and I could be the one who throws a blade to the power. So I get what you're saying there. And it is one of those things where boss powers do help against certain bosses, like the Quint laser, that basically was the quad laser from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. That one drops by a boss named Kerr, and it's good against Shatterbeak, which is the penguin inspired by Mega Man X. Another cool thing about the Quint laser is that it has a utility. So, well, apparently all the powers have utility, but we weren't aware of that at the time. But Quint laser, if you charge it up and then fire it, you can actually knock over the vending machines in the level, and allows you to acquire the items that are in the vending machine for free without having to spend nuts, the in-game currency.
Going back to what you were talking about with the name of the laser, I do appreciate all the references in the game.
This game is full of pop culture references. It almost reminded me of an indie Borderlands in that way. Because Borderlands, at least the first one for sure, was like full of pop culture references. And so, what is your take on the music / sound effects of the game?
I thought they were on point as well. I guess, I could sum up everything in saying that I feel the production value of the game was on point with what they were trying to do in terms of being Mega Man looking, Mega Man sounding. It looked like a spiritual successor to Mega Man, which is probably what they were going for, because a lot of the mechanics were in there that are in X, the dash. Like it was Mega Man with different skins, to a sense. So, like, I think they hit the mark on what they were trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the music is good, but it just felt like it needed a little something extra to me.
If we want to talk weaknesses, I feel, and maybe it's where the skulls are there, and we haven't messed around with skulls, so I feel that the difficulty of the game was kind of a little too easy.
Having said that, after dying on the Defiance difficulty lots of times.
That also brings me to another point with the difficulty. The difficulty really varies based on how lucky you get with which items the game wants to give you. But the items that you can buy on the left-hand side that appear throughout the game for that run, quote unquote, that's the only thing that changes from run to run once you buy all those permanent power-ups, which is like you can buy like your first or second run.
I see your point in that, you know, once you spend it, it's like it doesn't really feel like there's anything else to buy. So an example that we had from playing was getting the murder drone and starting the game out with that. And at first we thought it was kind of weak. We're like, well, it shoots at enemies, it kills the weaker enemies in one hit, and that's okay, it's not bad. But then we found an upgrade for it, and it made it awesome. Like, we weren't sure if it was going to replace it or if we could even purchase it, but we purchased it again and it upgraded, and we were like, awesome. And then a little while later we found the second upgrade for it, and then it became super awesome. It would be like one hit kill everything pretty much, aside from bosses, of course. That was exceedingly lucky. Like, I feel like that was more of a exception than the rule.
I agree with you. I do feel that the thing probably did a lot of work, but I don't think that like past the second power up that it was anything that I couldn't do myself.
Right, so it was doing more work than it had to. But yeah, I mean, and what do you think in regards to replayability? I feel that the whole dying makes you stronger type thing is kind of a good, I don't want to say gimmick, but it's like a good hook, if you will, to keep players playing it again. And then they also have the different challenges, which they could vary from week to week.
For me, I've never really been into replaying the same thing over and over and over. So it's nothing against this game, but I probably wouldn't be playing it for a lot longer, or constantly, I guess. I'll play it every now and then just to play it again, because it was fun, it was enjoyable. As for the skulls, I don't like artificially making my game harder. Like, I think it should be a design choice. So I don't see myself replaying it a lot, but there are those people that will. And there's all those people that do like trying to get the highest score. So I see the replayability for people that are in that type of thing. I personally am not one of them for any game. This game's not an exception. Also, the bosses get harder. Like, if you fight a boss as the first boss you fight, as opposed to when the boss being the last boss you fight, it's actually a harder fight if you would fight him last than first.
So a perfect example of that is Rollster Beta. He is kind of like a hamster or something, rodent, that rides a bladed monocycle. It's like one wheeled thing that has blades on it. If you play him like one of the first, I don't know, 2 or 3 bosses, you basically, it's just kind of a real simple fight. He does like 2 or 3 moves and you figure out what's going on, you can kill him. Well, when we played him as the last boss during our run, he had so many different extra moves and broke down into like a bunch of little rollsters, and it was crazy. Yeah. It was something that we were not expecting. It was a huge curveball.
I guess it's a cool mechanic. I thought that one was kind of lame because
we were not expecting it. There are more traps and hazards if you fight bosses later than at the beginning. So that's another strategic aspect of the game, is that you want to try and figure out when you want to fight certain bosses. And at the end of the level, like once you get to a boss and you defeat a boss, you get your little reward. You get to choose a boss power or a set of nuts or the life extension or a random power up. And then you come to the end where you get to choose the next level, but you only get the option of choosing between 3 of the potential bosses. So that's another reason why you have to try and think strategically, is you don't know at least in the initial couple of bosses, you don't know who's gonna be there. So, okay, so this game is on Steam for $15, and for $15, I feel like it has an incredible amount of value. What do you think?
I feel it's a little steep, but it's a good game. Maybe it's because I still have the whole it's indie on my mind, so I feel it should be a little cheaper. Like I would say maybe $12.50 would have been good. You know, that's nitpicking, I guess. But I'm glad I bought it. I'm glad I experienced it. I'm glad I played it. I probably will play through it again another time. I think it was a solid buy, and I would recommend it.
I honestly would have paid $20 for this, so you know I'm glad I was able to get it for 15. It's good on value, and I would definitely recommend it too. So if you had to give the game a score, going on a 1 through 10 scale, what would you rate 20XX?
I would rate it an 8.5. I see it's high. First off, it's blew away my expectations of an indie game in general. But I just feel, I guess personally, I know you would disagree with me. I feel that there's not a lot of replayability. It's a good first run, and it plays like Mega Man. If you like Mega Man, go for it.
For me, I would have to give it at least a 9. And to me, as the music just being a tad off, and some of the color palettes just kind of being repetitive, those are the only downsides. So like half a point apiece. Other than that, it's a fun game. The co-op is amazing. I will say this, I feel like co-op is a big part of the game. Like if it was released as a single player game, as much as I love Mega Man, I would probably rate it a lot lower. I agree with you on that. I feel that that's how it should have been ever since the NES days. So this has been our first That Damn review. I've been Daniel. And I've been Matthew. We'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace. Peace.